Hello yogis, welcome to your yin class with Holly, me. Make sure you have a mat ready. If you also have a bolster handy, grab one now. Otherwise, there's a few things that you can use. You can use a blanket and just rolling it up into a really nice fat log shape. You can use a roller if you have one as well, and just place the blanket on top of that to make it a little bit softer for your back. I'll be using a bolster today just for demonstration purposes, but use whatever you have handy at home, whether that's a cushion as well. Just make sure that it's nice and supportive for your back. We're going to get started in a really nice, comfortable seat. So whatever that is for you, try and have the legs uncrossed. I like to have one out in front of the other, but whatever works for you, somewhere that you can get those shoulders on top of the hips and getting nice and long through the spine. Just allow the hands to either lie open on your thighs or even just down in your lap. And once you've found that comfortable seat, let's just close the eyes. Taking a little moment just to see how our body and our mind feels today. Allowing a chance to center into our practice. And just noticing any little things that we're holding on to, both physically and mentally. And whenever you're ready, place the right hand down on your belly, right just underneath the navel, and that left hand just on your heart. Making sure those shoulders move down your back. And then when you're ready, start to breathe a little bit more consciously. Starting to come into that ujjayi breath. And you can do that by placing the tongue to the roof of your mouth and gently restricting the muscles at the back of your throat. Just enough to start to hear your breath like a little oceanic tide moving in and out of your nostrils. When that breath becomes a little bit more familiar, start to draw it all the way down into that pelvic bowl. Start to feel the inflation and deflation underneath that right hand, really filling that pelvic bowl to its fullest capacity before you allow that breath to release. Feeling that oceanic tide of your breath moving in and out. So really just giving ourselves a chance here to activate that parasympathetic nervous system. Massaging that vagus nerve that moves through the midline of your body. And allows you to hack into that rest and digest state of mind, state of being. Take a nice deep breath in, and as you exhale, let's move the hands to our shoulders. You can keep the eyes closed here if you'd like. And then just having those fingers nice and relaxed on your shoulders. Don't grasp them on nice and tightly. Try and keep nice and relaxed all through the arms and through the shoulders. When you're ready, take a nice deep breath in, filling those lungs, and as you exhale, let's draw the elbows in towards each other. As you do so, hollow out the chest, nice and expanded across the upper back. Staying here for a nice deep breath. On your next inhale, let's draw those elbows up towards the ceiling. Might be a bit weird on the hands here, so allow them just to fall down the shoulder blades. Try and keep the shoulders moving down your back. Take 2 breaths here. Try to keep that breath moving down into the lower belly. And on your next exhale, let's bring those elbows out nice and wide. Again, feeling those shoulder blades melt down your back. This time feeling that expansion across the collarbones. And as you exhale, let's roll those elbows down. Take a breath in as they start to come forward. And as you exhale, let's move through that circle one more time. This time just moving with your breath, so next inhale draws them up. Exhaling out to the side. Take a breath in. Exhaling, moving them down your back. Let's do one more just for good measure. Maybe closing your eyes, really making this an organic movement. And really moving into that ball and socket joint in your shoulder blades. Shoulders, I should say. And on that final circle, just come back to the hand and the hands on the stomach and on the heart. Take a nice deep breath in. Sigh it out, release anything that's no longer serving you. And making the commitment to your practice today. Really taking the time for you to just be with yourself. Becoming a little bit more acquainted with the physical and the mental body. For our first pose, we're going to come into a supported fish variation. So as I said, I'm going to use a bolster, but if you have some cushions that you can align towards the top of your mat, or if you have the log and a blanket, you can place that as well. Whatever's going to help you get a little bit more of a back bend and open up through the shoulders. Once you've got that ready, just come down to lie down on your back, nice and relaxed. And you want the bolster or whatever you're using right underneath the shoulder blades. So right where the tip of your shoulders meet your back, and we'll bring them down. Now you can always use another cushion behind your head or a block if you have them available. I like to release my head all the way down and take a few moments to settle in. This can be quite strong and opening through the chest, particularly if we've been sitting all day or hunched over in any way. This can feel really nice to just open and melt down. So for your hands here, you can do a few things. You can just release them down towards the hips and just make sure that they're releasing through the shoulders as well. You'll notice, particularly if you're quite stressed, the shoulders like to move up towards the ears. So just be conscious of that as we move through our practice. For those of you looking for a little bit more of a shoulder opening today, then you can bring those arms behind you and just allow the hands to fall behind the head. Either just letting them relax there, or you can grab opposite elbows as well. Just making sure whatever you're doing is serving you in the best way possible. And then once you've found your supported fish pose, try and melt the body down. Find that conscious breath, that ujjayi breath, moving down through the body, filling that pelvic bowl, and beginning that oceanic tide once more. So throughout today's yin practice, we'll hold each pose for roughly 3 to 5 minutes. Really allowing you a chance to settle in, to slow down, to soothe both body and mind, particularly with everything that's going on at the moment. Really use this as a chance to escape. And if ever you start to feel your mind drifting off into thoughts, either of the past or the future, see if you can find your breath Align your mind with your breath. For where the mind goes, energy flows. Make this a little internal journey. If it helps to follow your breath down your body, start to picture that breath like a warm white light. See it in your mind, and as you breathe in, follow it down the back of your throat. Feel it move down each and every little vertebra. As you exhale, feel that warm white light move back up the spine. And feel that warmth start to melt all of that connective tissue and that fascia around your spine. Notice whenever that breath starts to move back into the chest, particularly in this little back bend. Your breath will want to stay rather shallow. To make a conscious effort to move it down the body. Each time, try and picture sending it all the way down into your hips, feeling that expansion. Today's practice is really focusing on the opening of the body, but also improving that lymphatic system, that first line of defense, that network of antibodies. And that lymphatic system actually moves down from your feet all the way up the body. So everything we'll do today will really help that system move freely throughout your body. If ever this gets a little bit too much on the shoulders, you always feel free to move into a variation of the pose. Never feel like you're stuck. Because at the end of the day, this is for you. If ever you start to feel a little pain in the bottom of your back, right down near the tailbone, and just gently start to push the tailbone down into your mat, so taking it out of the lower back. Always making any little adjustments that you need, but also noticing when it's just a need to fidget. See if you can release yourself into the stillness. Take 2 more deep breaths here. Whenever you're ready, remembering to move nice and mindfully each time we come out of a pose. We'll start to move the feet in towards the glutes. They don't need to move all the way up, just a little to help you start to roll on over onto that left side. From here, you're going to move into a little fetus shape. So you want your ribs right on top of the middle of whatever support you are using. And again, you can use a block underneath your head for support, or you can just use that bottom arm. It's a little cushion here as we start to open through the right side body. So making sure that whatever support you're using isn't coming into your belly. That will start to feel uncomfortable after a while. So make sure that it really is your ribs on the bolster itself. Take a few moments to adjust however you need. And then once again, you can do whatever you like with this top hand. You can either just rest on your belly if that feels nice. You can bring it down if that feels better. Or you can even open that elbow up towards the ceiling for a little bit more expansion. So just using whatever you like, feeling your way into the pose. And then, as always, finding our breath. Drawing it down the body. Remembering to adjust however you need to. Notice what's happening in your mind. The reactions, both physical and mental. And really using this time as a chance to become more acquainted with yourself. To become more acquainted with the goings on. For when we can become a little bit more aware of those reactions, we can start to feel them manifesting a little earlier on next time. And therefore a little bit more prepared to either change that narrative in our minds. Maybe it's just taking a nice deep breath to recenter. The great thing about your breath is that it really is a way to notice how you're feeling. Whenever we're stressed or anxious, the breath automatically moves up into the chest, becomes shorter. And that in itself activates your sympathetic nervous system, which is that fight or flight response in the body. And your body actually doesn't know the difference between anxiety or a life and death situation. It processes it in the exact same way. So whenever you start to feel that breath moving up into the top of your body, take a deep, deep breath down the spine. Each time trying to fill this pelvic bowl, this belt. I always like to place a little hand just below the navel as a little conscious reminder to breathe into that space. Try to keep that top shoulder moving down your back as much as you can. If you'd like to be a little bit more open, start to move those shoulder blades together. take 2 more breaths on this side. And wherever you can, close down your eyes. Really using this as a chance to ground yourself into your practice. To use this time and space just for you. Nothing else matters. Everything else can wait. Last breath here. And then when you're ready, just bringing that top hand, placing it down onto your mat, and really using the hands here to help you come up nice and gently. And then from here, we're just going to roll the knees back up towards the top. And roll on over to the other side. I'm going to move this way. So once again, making sure that your ribs are coming onto the top of whatever support you're using. And then from here, just lowering yourself down nice and gently, using that bottom hand as a little support. Making whatever adjustments you need. And allow the knees to be bent here. If you'd rather have them straight, then go for it. But make sure whatever variation you're taking is allowing you to fully release. Again, you can do whatever you like with that top hand, resting it on the support, resting it behind the back. Or bringing it all the way over. Really taking whatever variation you like on this side, whatever best serves you. And then once you've made all of those little adjustments, make a conscious effort to find your breath. Take a few breaths to notice where the breath is traveling. Notice if it's staying up in the chest. And then try and send it down all the way into that lower belly. Try and feel the expansion down in the hip, or maybe even in your glutes. And by doing so, we're actually sending the breath right into the bottom of the lungs. Maybe even using spaces of the lungs that you don't typically. So really using this as a chance to expand that lung capacity. The more we go into this yin practice, less and less I'll start to talk. Really allowing you to have a chance to fully immerse into this space and time. To fully immerse into your own experience. And always noticing what might come up for you. Remembering to move through your practice with compassion, removing any feelings of judgment. Accept whatever comes up, acknowledge it, and then let it go. There's always time after your practice to think about those reactions. But for now, just focus on how that breath is moving. How each and every inhale allows expansion to move in between the ribs. And how each and every exhale melts the muscles, the joints, the body. Taking a few more breaths on this side. Last couple of breaths. And then once you're ready, just start to bend into those knees if you had them straight. Bring that top hand down onto your mat. Really using that hand as a way to support you on the way up. And then from here, we're just going to remove that support to one side and find our way onto our hands and knees. So making sure that you have the wrists underneath your shoulders and have those index fingers pointing forward to the top of your mat. Those knees are nicely placed underneath your hips. And then on your next inhale, let's dip the belly as you open the chest towards the front. As you exhale, start to draw the navel in towards the spine. Push the back up towards the ceiling, really expanding across the upper back. Inhale, drop the belly. Feel those collarbones broaden. Exhaling, draw navel into spine. Each time, see if you can get a little bit more space in between the shoulder blades. Once you find a nice little rhythm, maybe closing down those eyes and moving with your breath. Keep it as organic as it can be, and therefore you might start to add a few little movements. Whether that's little circles, if you're going over to one side, do it a few times before you move on to the other. And you can always take little figure eights. Remembering to open through the chest as you inhale and as you exhale, opening through the upper back. Taking a few more here. Just feeling that space that we've created through that fish pose and those lateral extensions. Just remembering to move with your breath. Let that be the initiator for each and every movement you make. Last nice deep breath here. And as you exhale, come to a neutral spine. From here, begin to tuck your toes under and then walking those hands back towards your hips. And then from here, we want to make sure that you tuck all toes underneath. So if you've got tiny little baby toes like me, you're going to want to use your hands to help you tuck them under. And then from here, we're going to come to sit on our heels. Now this can already feel quite strenuous. If you've been doing a lot of walking or running, or if you wear nice high heels, then you will definitely start to feel this through the soles of your feet. There's ways that you can support yourself here. If it's getting a little bit too much on your knees, you can always grab a blanket and place it, that's a little bit too much, just place it in between the thighs, and then that way you're getting a really nice support. So that's one way that you can do it. And then if this gets a little bit too much, you can always lean a little bit forward, but we're going to try and take a few breaths in this toe stretch. And if there's some of you that not even feeling it here, then you always have the option to lean back and make this a little bit more stronger in that foot stretch. So from here, we're going to allow the hands again to either melt down into your seat, or you can bring that right hand to the lower belly and that left hand to your heart. Close down the eyes. And once again, find your breath. Knowing that that fire you may start to feel is completely normal. And rather than resisting that sensation, feel it as warmth moving up through your feet, through your legs, all the way up towards your heart. Feel it as love. Really sending all of that love into our feet. They rarely get that kind of attention, and yet they're the ones supporting us every single day. Staying here for 4 more breaths. Notice how that breath may change. And then after that 4th exhale, plant the hands down, slowly lift the hips off your heels, and then very gently allow those toes to uncurl. Might feel quite strong. And then just tap them out. Ooh, that can feel quite strong. So just tap them as many times as you need, allowing that blood to move back down in towards the toes, knowing just how much love you've sent your feet. Take a nice deep breath in. And then as you exhale, let's bring the big toes to touch. Widen the knees out, maybe about to the width of your mat. And then once again, let's walk those hands back. So I always like to come and sit down on my heels, make that connection with the heels. Sometimes when we go straight into our child's pose, the hips are already quite high, and we can forget that we really want to try and keep that grounding sensation down through those sit bones. Again, you can use your cushions here or whatever support you have, and bringing it down in front can be a really nice way to move into our Balasana or our child's pose. If you're wanting to get a little bit more open, you can always remove the bolster. From here, keeping that connection with the hips to your heels, just start to walk the hands down. And if you do have the cushions, we're going to bring one cheek to the mat. Making sure that we're not pushing into the mat in any way. We're really trying to release the shoulders down. Trying to create this nice, relaxed feeling through the upper body. So notice where you might be feeling tension in the neck, in the shoulders. And with each exhale, send that ease into those areas. Release all sensations or tension that is no longer needed. Now, particularly after that toe stretch, you might start to feel your heart beating a little faster. And by becoming a little bit more aware of how your breath is, and whether you still have the ability to deepen it, will eventually tell the body that it's safe, it can relax. Remembering that the lengthier that breath is, the more we can hack into our nervous system and actually control how the body's state of being is. Moving back into that rest and digest. We'll stay here on this side for a few moments. And then we'll swap cheek over. So really just allow yourself to melt down into whatever support you have. If at any moment you want to deepen your balasana by removing the bolster, just moving really nice and mindfully, pushing it out of the way, and then melting the head down. Oh, nice little crack there. Each exhale, feel the sit bones grounding down into the heels. Take a moment to focus on the breath moving down past your heart. Can you notice if that heartbeat has started to slow? Knowing that you controlled how your body reacted. Know that you always have the power to control those reactions. Where your mind goes, energy flows. Never underestimate just how much power you hold. And that your breath is one of the most valuable tools that you have. If you are on one cheek, just move it over to the other side. Again, if you feel the need to deepen your Balasana, you can always remove the props again. If this is starting to get a little bit too much on your hips, you can always change your Balasana by gently coming a little bit higher up, moving the knees together, and then melting yourself back down. And if it was getting a little too much on the shoulders, then you can always bring the shoulders to melt down as well by bringing the hands towards your heels. This time, start to feel that expansion in the lower back. Each time you breathe in, notice the space that you bring around the kidneys, the tailbone. And maybe you can send it all the way down into your glutes. In today's world, where we're often seated for quite a lot of our daily lives, whether it's driving, sitting at a desk, we bring a lot of compression into that lower back. So really using this breath and that expansion right the way down the spine, and bringing space in between each and every little vertebra. Notice where you're holding on. Can your shoulders keep moving down towards your mat? Really let them get heavy. And really releasing the body down. For these next 4 breaths, if your hands are behind you, start to bring them forward. You can keep the knees together, or they can come back out wide. Stay conscious with your breath. Allow the shoulders to melt down, maybe even bringing those elbows down. Keep trying to feel that inhale down in the lower back. And then from here, start to push down into the hands, lifting those elbows. A little bit more of an active Balasana. Start to lift the forehead off your mat. And then from here, we're going to bring the knees back out wide. So from here, we're going to come into a twisted Balasana. So we're going to start with the right shoulder coming down. The right hand is going to thread all the way through, make that space that we've created with that left arm. We want to try and bring that right hand out as far as we can to try and bring this right shoulder all the way down to our mat. Trying to get these shoulders to stack as much as they can. So you can either bring this left hand behind you for a little bit of a bind. But remember that a bind is a way to self-serve. So if the arm is just floating back here and not really doing anything, then just bring it back round. Maybe you have it out in front instead. And this will give you a little bit more of a different stretch as the chest comes down. You might feel a little bit more in the deltoids. So just using whatever variation you need for you right now. Taking nice deep breaths again down the body. And really settling into this nice gentle twist. Really allow that right cheek to melt down into the earth. Again, you always have a block or whatever you're using to bring the floor to you. Try and keep the sit bones grounding down. And remembering to close those eyes. Making this an internal journey. How often do you really take time for you? Time without thinking of the future, the past. Time to simply be. To fully experience the wonders of you. Take a few more moments in this side. If you had the bind, just come out of it and bring that hand back towards the front of your mat. From here, we're going to start to bring that left shoulder down towards the mat. So you can keep the right cheek on the mat, but try and release that left shoulder down. So definitely going to come into the deltoids. If you'd like to move onto the chin and that's not nasty on your neck in any way, then you can. Or you can come down onto the forehead. So just a little more of a stretch across the upper back, really down that right deltoid. Stay here for 3 to 4 breaths. And you might start to be feeling this quite deeply through the legs. And if that is the case, for the next few breaths, you can always bring those legs out. Just allowing that blood to move back down your legs and really using that weight of the chest down on top of that right arm. Those 4 breaths. Bring that left hand towards the body, pushing up. And then from here, if you had the legs out long, you're just going to walk them back in, preparing for the other side. So from here, walking those hands back towards, come to sit back on the heels. If you were in your Balasana, then you can just stay there. And then from here, walking back down, staying a little bit more active in the hands here so that we can thread the left hand all the way through, bringing that left shoulder down, and then bringing that left cheek to the mat. So try and bring that left shoulder right underneath you as far as you can. And then you always have the option to bring that right hand across the lower back. And then for those of you who are a little bit more open, you can always tuck that right hand on the inside of that left thigh. So really using the bind to help you stack those shoulders on top of each other. And like I said, if the bind isn't in your practice and it's kind of just staying here and it's not particularly comfortable and it's not really serving you in any way, then I recommend just coming back to bringing the hand out in front. You're still getting the full benefits of the twist. And as always, just settle in. No matter how small a twist might be, we're still able to expand that lung capacity and even that rib cage mobility. By breathing in your twists, you once again get to explore areas of the lungs that don't typically get that kind of attention. And then you can start to release that elbow down towards the floor. Really trying to settle in, removing all strain and effort. If you are in the bind, making sure that we're still not straining. We can often be so focused on trying to twist as much as we can that we let our ego take over, when really this is all about doing what best serves you right now, right here. Taking a few more breaths wherever you are. As the body releases, keep feeling those sit bones grounding down into your heels. For those of you in the bind, start to gently come out, bringing that hand towards the top of your mat. And then once again, start to turn that right shoulder down towards the mat. Again, you can bring the chin if that feels more comfortable, or you bring the forehead down. And if this is still a bit too much on your legs, we have been here for a while, you can start to bring those legs out towards the back of your mat, lowering those hips down and really bringing the full weight of your torso on top of that left shoulder. Maybe noticing the differences from each side. Maybe you're a little bit tighter or looser. But wherever you feel that tension, breathe into it. Each exhale invites all those little muscles to release. Breathing down your body. If your legs are out long, send the breath all the way down towards your feet. Try and feel that expansion as low as you can. Four more breaths. When you're ready, just starting to bring the forehead off your mat, walking that right hand back towards your chest, and just slowly coming back onto your hands and knees. From here, we're just going to take one more pose before we can make our way down onto our backs. We're going to take a Molasses Squat. So from here, the easiest way I find is to come to a standing position. You can always use a block underneath those sit bones if you need. However, pointing your toes out nice and wide, take a nice deep breath in, and as you exhale, start to sink the hips down. Try and keep the knees moving towards the back, and try and keep the weight in the blade edges of your feet, specifically in your heels. I have quite flat feet, so I tend to move down into my arches, so I need to make a little bit more effort to push those knees out towards the back. From here, bring the hands at heart, take a deep breath in. Sigh it out. Deep breath in. Sigh it out. Option to keep the hands as they are, or you can bring the hands down, opening them up, getting nice and broad through the collarbones. And then we're going to bring the ring finger down in towards our palm. The thumbs start to move over that ring finger. So coming into our Surya Mudra. A really great way to activate that little fire in our bodies. That fire that can warn off any colds. And once again, just like in your toe stretch, enjoy the fire. Rather than resisting, take a super deep breath in. Feel that expansion in the lower body, right down past the navel. 2 more breaths. from here, release the hands, bring them down in front. And then when you're ready, push down through the heels. Just come to a forward fold, bringing the feet underneath your hips. And you can bend the knees as much as you like. Try and bring that torso all the way down towards your thighs. So if that means bending the knees super deeply, then you go for it. If you're a little bit more open in your hamstrings today, then maybe those knees start to straighten. Either resting the hands down on the floor or coming into the opposite elbows. Take 3 breaths here. Just allowing that blood to move down through the legs. Notice if you're holding any tension in the neck. Maybe nodding it yes, shaking it no. Last breath. Release the hands down as you inhale, come to a halfway lift. And as you exhale, just plant the hands down, come onto your hands and knees, sit back onto the heels. So for today's Shavasana, I recommend that you come up against a wall, and we're going to have our legs up the wall. So there are a couple of options that you can take. Pretty much all of you will have a wall at home. So trying to get your bum as close as you can to the wall itself. So really coming in sideways is the easiest way to do this. Getting it nice and close, and then you can start to lie down. Taking whatever little adjustments you need to scoot yourself as close to the wall as you can. Then from here, just allow the feet to come up the wall. And once again, you have the option for the hands to come down by your sides. Palms facing open. Or if you're looking for a little bit more of a shoulder opening, the hands can come behind you. Keep a little tuck of the chin down towards your chest, so that we're nice and long through the back of your neck. Release any tension throughout the legs. Take a deep breath in. Sigh it out through the mouth. One more just like that. And for the first time in your practice, release the breath. Let it return to its natural rhythm. Feel that gentle rise and fall of your navel, your heart beating in your chest. These automatic movements that require no effort on your part. If you haven't done so already, close down the eyes. Start to feel heavy in the body. Feel your muscles melt down into the earth like butter. Let yourself marinate in the benefits of your practice. And you can stay here for as long as you like. Really using this moment to fully experience those benefits that you have brought into your body today. Thank you so much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your week.